Alright everybody, somehow it is time once again for a Mods Monthly where we check out all kinds of wonderful weapons, armors, and etc. to come out in the past month for Fallout 4. But this time, we've got a pretty interesting variety. As usual, we do have a handful of weapons to check out, but we're also going to be taking a look at a huge new, really cool quest slash culty mystical item mod. That one's going to be a big feature, so we'll talk about it a lot. But we're also going to be checking out, like I said, a handful of weapons and a brand new settlement turret mod that was a lot of fun to mess around with. There's a good bit of bloopers of me and Pig just laughing and laughing because he was hanging out when I was getting footage, and we were having a good time with that one. So I think you guys should enjoy most of what we're checking out. And there's some pretty interesting stuff as far as the weapons are concerned, because we have the return of a very large project that we haven't heard from in quite some time. So I suppose let's go ahead and jump in so that we can get through some of this really cool content. Starting off with the brand new giant quest mod that comes with a brand new tool known as the Crystals of Power, a weapon and quest mod by jcruise05 and a Legend V1. Now, you may remember that I made a little culty mod of Pig for a mod jam that's held by jcruise. This is jcruise's entry into said mod jam. There's actually a lot of mods like this, and I haven't been able to cover them all yet. I may take some time next week to actually shed light on more of those. But we'll see. I also have a weapon coming out that I want to cover. We'll try to make some time for those, though. Anyways, the Crystals of Power is jcruiseman's entry with quest work done by a legend and the weapon made by jcruise himself. This is going to add a brand new occult weapon. I was going to say pistol, but I don't know that that's fully correct. It's some sort of magical energy weapon that is very odd for Fallout. It starts off with a quest that is going to lead you over to Concord, where you're going to have to head underground. If you didn't know, there is actually a sort of sewer access in Concord that will take you right to where the Deathclaw was hiding that whole time. And inside there, you will find a newly added skeleton with a makeshift runic weapon that when you pick up will start the quest. And the quest starts in an interesting way. There is actually a ring on the ground, which is an article of clothing we often forget about in Fallout. You do have a ring slot, and when you equip this ring, it talks to you. I'll go ahead and let some voice lines from that play so that you can hear exactly what I mean when I say that.
Finally, it's been eons since another hand touched the ring. Heed my words carefully, mortal. I can grant you powers beyond this realm that will help you survive this world.
So once the ring starts talking to you, you'll find out that you are now on a quest to find the 6 Crystals of Power that are going to do a couple of things. The entity in the ring wants you to collect them because if you collect them all, it's going to free them and set them loose onto the mortal plane to wreak havoc. But you can also get something from that. You have a choice every time you encounter one of these crystals. You can either take the crystal, which you can then use to power your weapon, or you can destroy them. If you choose to take them, which is the much more fun option, every crystal will form sort of an attachment for this weapon that you can then use to change what sort of weapon it is. By default, this weapon has no crystal, and it is sort of like a gamma gun. If you throw in the fire crystal, it shoots out some pretty crazy fireballs that on impact explode into a huge ball of fire. Pretty simple stuff, right? But it goes beyond some simple elements. There is your typical fire and cryo sort of attachment, but there's some pretty crazy ones that you'll get later on, like a wind attachment that sends people flying, or a sun attachment that will blind enemies. The lightning attachment could easily just be sparks, but it isn't. It actually calls lightning down from the sky, and that one is probably my favorite. It's so cool, and there's a few more as well that I don't want to spoil the effects of every single one. Now, you do also have the option to destroy these crystals instead of taking them. I'm not 100% sure what would happen if you were to do all of them. When I did my testing, I only destroyed one, and all that seemed to happen was the entity got a little angry at me. I'm assuming that if you were to destroy all of the different crystals, that there would be a different ending to the mod. Maybe something happens to the entity, or you get a different item in return. but what I can tell you is you don't get to keep the crystals for your weapon, which results in you not having any of those fun and cool effects. Personally, I'm going to choose the crystals. They're really cool, and I love having weapons. It's like collecting the Daedric artifacts in Skyrim. You're always going to take the Daedric artifact. Who cares about banishing the Daedra? Let's give me cool stuff. I want more cool stuff for my guy. Now, once you complete the quest, you're going to pick up the very, very last crystal. You're going to get more than just your crystals. If you collect all of them, you're also going to get a quote-unquote gift from the entity in the ring, which is going to come in the form of, first of all, a new perk, which is going to make it so that all of these crystals and the weapon that shoots them are more effective, but you also take more damage if you're not using the crystal gun. So that's a pretty cool and interesting trade-off. Very similar to, again, Daedric stuff in Skyrim. But you also get a brand new thing, which is probably my favorite thing in this mod. Normally, if you want to equip any of these crystals, you have to go to a weapons workbench and swap them out. With the final perk from playing through the mod, you will be able to click on your gun in your Pip-Boy and choose the crystal whenever you want. No weapon workbench necessary, so if you're out in the field and you're using your crystal gun, you can switch between fire or ice or lightning or the wind one at a moment's notice. Super, super cool, and makes this a very good utility weapon. I was already thinking about how much of a pain it would be to have to always go and change it out, so you'd probably just want to pick one you like. No more. As soon as you click it, you get to choose what it uses, and you could just swap it out easy peasy. Click, 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 click. Super cool. Overall, this mod's awesome. I had so much fun playing through it, and I've been having fun with a lot of the occult mods. They're really, really cool. These mod jams make for some really fun and interesting stuff we wouldn't really have if it weren't for the jams. So huge props to J. Cruz for putting these things on. This mod comes with some really cool items, wonderful voice acting, and a fun new quest if you like little collectathons. So I think it's really worth checking out. This mod and all of the mods in this video will be linked down in the description below, so I do highly recommend you check them out. Now, that's a lot of talking for this one. Let's jump into the next mod. The next mod is going to be known as the Capital Wasteland Double Barrel Shotgun, and that's right, the Capital Wasteland team is finally back with some new content. And it's not just this. They actually released a couple of mods, but the Double Barrel Shotgun was the most intriguing to me. They released this Double Barrel Shotgun, and they did also release a Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas style missile launcher, which I know a lot of people were excited for, but for me personally, it's the Fallout 3 missile launcher. There's not a lot you can really do with that. It's going to shoot once, and that's the missile launcher. You guys know how that works, so I wanted to cover something that's going to have a little bit more in the way of attachments, though, sadly, there's not as many as I was hoping for. Even still, there's some really cool stuff with this mod that is a little different from some of the past Fallout Capital Wasteland projects, so let's go ahead and talk about those things. This mod is going to be made by the Capital Wasteland team, but it's going to feature animations from Cadaver, which is really cool because that means that this double barrel shotgun, even though it could totally use vanilla double barrel animations, does come with its own custom animations. I'm sad to see that they didn't use pistol grip animations for the sawed-off version like it would have in the past games, but you still get custom rifle grip double barrel animations that you can use for all of the attachments for this mod, of which there are a handful of different stocks. There's a pistol grip, as well as a pistol grip with like a little butt pad stock, and there's also the full rifle length stock like you'd find in the Point Lookout DLC of Fallout 3, allowing you to get both the sawed off and the full length double barrel from Fallout 3 in this mod. There's also a couple of other attachments to change out the receiver for higher damage. You can change out the stocks and the barrel lengths, but there's not much beyond that. There's nothing in the muzzle category, and there's nothing in the sights category, but there is a bayonet category with one singular bayonet. So I guess there's that if you want some bonus melee damage. Something interesting to note about the Capital Wasteland project and this particular weapon that I think makes it shine just a little bit is that when the Fried Turkey and HCX Grill, man, it's been a while since I've had to say their names, I kind of forgot. When the Grilled Turkey Wombo Combo team was making mods, they made a ton of stuff for the Capital Wasteland in a very short term, but they never made that many weapons. There's only like a few, actually, out there, and what's really interesting is all the ones they made used vanilla animations as far as I can tell. If they were custom at all, they were very slightly tweaked. Aside from the Project Mojave stuff, which did have a bunch of work-in-progress animations, all of the standalone releases for the Capital Wasteland weapons were vanilla animations from that particular duo. Whereas this one does come with custom animations, which I think is a step in the right direction. And I know for a fact that the missile launcher they released also comes with fully custom animations because it needs them to make that sort of missile launcher work in Fallout 4. So that's a huge plus as well. That makes me excited for future releases. I would like to see a little bit more from the attachment side of things, but I know they're probably not leaning too hard into that because they're trying to recreate Fallout 3, which didn't have a lot of attachments. So if they're not really caring about that point, then that makes a lot of sense. That's just something I would like because I love attachments. Either way, this is a really cool recreation of the Fallout 3 sort of double barrel. It also does come with the concept art attachments, like the grip that has a little tooth hanging from it, so that's pretty cool as well. If you're looking for a lore-friendly addition to the game, I'm sure there will be a replacer version for this at some point for people that want it, but it comes right now in standalone if you would like to have an additional double barrel alongside the one in vanilla Fallout 4. For the next mod, we're checking out that wonderful new settlement turret mod I was talking about, known as the Machine Gun Emplacement by Selakii and J. Cruz, because I believe J. Cruz made some textures and maybe even some mesh edits for this here mod. This is going to be a brand new, huge, heavy-duty turret for your settlements. This isn't your rinky-dink makeshift slap a gun into a vice grip and call it a day sort of turret. This is a monster featuring 6 50 cal barrels. It's absurd. They're gigantic, but they're a lot of fun. They provide 24 to, I think, 26 defense, something in that ballpark, because there are two different versions. There is a standard and an incendiary version, and they just shred through enemies. In the footage, you're going to see that we've tried to put these turrets up against multiple different types of enemies of increasing amounts that just become ridiculous, and the turrets always win. Not once did even a single turret get destroyed, I think, because these things are massive, and I only put down 2 of them. That's pretty dang crazy, and they're taking out some high level enemies. That being said, the crafting requirements for these is also very high. High perks and high in the terms of resources you're going to need. So slapping 50 of these down at your settlement isn't going to be the easiest task if you're playing a true blue survival mode with no cheats. That said, once you are able to get even one of these, you don't really have to worry about defending your settlement anymore. You might need to show up, but the turret's going to take care of everything else. It is a really cool addition. I love the concept of doing new turret mods. I feel like there's a lot of aspects of Fallout that don't get explored in the modding scene. There's always guns, there's always armors, and there's always quests, but there's other little things I feel like we never touch on, and settlement turrets I think is a really cool one that I would also like to explore in the future. We did do our big turret pack that featured a lot of our weapons, but I would love to do some custom turrets like this one day as well, because they seem like a lot of fun. Overall, if you're looking for a new way to defend your settlement, I think this is a fantastic one. This thing is craftable in the turret section of the settlement menu, so there's no custom menus or anything like that. This just sits right there where it should be with the rest of the game, and it works flawlessly right out of the gate. So once you have Gun Nut 4 and Science 1 or Science 2 for the incendiary version, you'll be able to craft this thing, and it's pretty dang crazy. It's even fun if you use some of those custom settlement invasion mods that allow you to spawn enemies and different waves and just see how much these things can take out. But like I said already, and like you're probably seeing right now in the footage, these things can pretty much handle anything that you throw at them. Man, I forgot that we have some real heavy hitting mods this week, or month rather. We're checking out a massive weapon pack by Gecko in a Can known as Sidearms of the Wasteland. This mod is going to include a handful of retro Fallout weapons, as well as some new weapons that maybe haven't even been featured before in the Fallout franchise. Actually, that might not be true. I think everything's been in here if you include Fallout 1 and 2, and Tactics. Either way, there's a lot of really cool and lore-friendly weapons here that are going to make your Wasteland a lot more populated with interesting weapons all over the place. And this comes in the variety of regular old ballistic pistols, as well as some brand new energy weapons, or not that brand new if you consider the old games, because we're talking about the classic Glock 86 plasma pistol, as well as the Watts 1000 laser pistol. Two weapons I've eventually wanted to get to, but the ones featured here have some really cool and interesting interpretations that I've never seen before, so that has me really excited. Let's go ahead and talk first about the full-on weapon list. This mod's going to include a 10mm pistol, which is very customizable to include things from like the N99, which is the typical old Fallout 3 style 10mm pistol, but there's also some new stuff like the Colt 7520, which is more like a sort of version of the Beretta 93R, kind of. And there's also the Colt 6520, which is going to be sort of that Fallout 1 style 10mm pistol, but it's not going to be a revolver, which is interesting. It's got some really cool attachments. But there's more than that. That's just for the 10mm pistol. That already has basically 3 different guns inside of it. There's also the Watts 1000 pistol, which is going to be a really, really cool version of the laser pistol that has all kinds of crazy attachments and full-on custom animations, because we've never gotten a real good look at what this thing would actually function like. And while a couple people have tried, I think that this interpretation has a really cool anim set that makes it very unique and very neat. We have the Glock 85 plasma pistol, which is going to have attachments to make it like the Defender from New Vegas, but it also has the classic sort of style from Fallout 1 and 2, which also has a really, really cool animation set that uses the bottom magazine, and it has a reciprocating heatsink. This thing looks awesome. There's also going to be a 1911 in here, and there's also a Browning High Power for that matter, because these are 2 very similar pistols, both of which were featured in New Vegas as the 45 Auto and the 9mm pistol. And these are going to have attachments that pretty much make them the same thing. There's not going to be any big conversions like some of the other weapons had, but there are some interesting different receiver options that totally change the way the weapons look in terms of their textures, like a really wastelandy one or a really clean black one, different types of grips, stuff like that. And then finally, there is a Beretta 92, which is going to be your typical old M9. And I believe that that gun was featured in one of the past Fallout games, either in 1 and 2 or possibly in Tactics. I think that that has showed up, though, at some point in the Fallout universe. And if I'm wrong about that, it's definitely a gun that fits. I think it's a really, really cool weapon that is sort of on the line of the Marksman Carbine in terms of timeline and aesthetic for Fallout. It's on the more tactical side, but still totally fitting and just maybe a little bit more rare. But with the attachments in this mod, it actually makes it fit in Fallout pretty dang well. You can customize it to look like a really boring typical M9, but you can also make it like have the under barrel attachments from the 10mm pistol from the classic games that make it really bulky and fat and look more like a Fallout gun. There's actually a lot that you can do for each of these weapons with all of the crazy attachments, so that's something I'd recommend going and playing with, is taking all of these, taking them over the weapons workbench, and just messing around with them and seeing what kind of crazy stuff you can make up, because there is honestly a good bit. Each of these weapons are going to be added to the level list, so you're going to find these all around the Commonwealth on enemies, so you should have fun finding all kinds of brand new weapons for your game in the form of sidearms. If you like these lore-friendly additions, I would go check out Gecko in a Can. He has some other weapon packs that are really, really cool. If you like this style of art, then it's something I'd recommend if you want even more content, especially because all of them come with custom animations. Speaking of custom animations, we've got one more new weapon to check out, and that's going to be one that I've had on my list for some time, and that is the Six Messengers Anti-Air Launcher. This thing came out just at the very beginning of October, and it's really cool. I watched this thing in development because the Six Messenger does like to give me little sneak peeks sometimes and ask for advice, and all of the weapons that he makes are always super creative and inventive and have some really fun stuff that other weapons just do not have. Now, on the surface, this looks like a simple new rocket launcher that uses vanilla animations, but you'd actually be wrong. All of the animations for this weapon are custom. All of the reloads are completely new. Even though they look very similar to stuff from the vanilla game, they're going to feature some interesting little like reciprocating versions on the smaller barrels. When you reload them, they actually go back and forth. When you put in the new cylindrical ones, they lock into the place by rotating. There's some little minor tweaks and camera movements that actually show off some brand new animations that, while they look very similar to vanilla, are not, which I think is an art style that is something I really enjoy. Trying to match the vanilla style as best as you can while still adding something completely new to the game. And this weapon does that pretty well. Some of the uniques get a little out there and wacky, but some of them I think fit perfectly with sort of my style of unique creation, and overall, this weapon is just a lot of fun to use. It is known as the anti-air launcher, but some versions of this are kind of just a missile launcher. Like the double barrel one is really just going to fire 2 missiles, and that's going to be it. Although, it looks really cool. Same goes for the triple barrel. But then you can get up to something like the Fliegerfaust barrel, which has, I believe, 12, maybe more? I think 12 barrels, which allows you to fire 12 missiles before reloading, and you can fire them in full auto, and that's a lot of fun. Now combine that with a targeting sensor that allows you to lock on to things, and you can fire 12 automatic rockets. That makes it even more fun. Now, combine that with the name, which is an anti-air launcher, and you have the perfect vertibird destroyer. If you are anti-Brotherhood of Steel and you see a vertibird flying in and you have one of these things, you can lock onto it and take it out before they even drop their troops, which is super cool. Like other the 6 messenger weapons, this also does come with a handful of uniques that are pretty crazy. One of my favorites in here is known as the Nuclear Family, which is going to be a reddish-orange version of the weapon that has multiple shots, so whenever you fire the triple barrel per se, it fires all 3 at the same time, which is really, really cool. And then you can fire that 3 times, so you get 9 rockets instead of your typical 3. And there's also a Borderlands inspired one known as the Tina's Party Crasher, which is a full auto anti-air one that just goes nutty. It fires a lot of rockets very, very fast, and they're pretty scary. Now, there is also another weapon in this mod that I'm a little confused about because it's not the same weapon. It has different attachments, and that is the Nuclear Missile Launcher, which is just one gigantic barrel that fires a mini nuke. But it's pretty cool, and it works very, very well. So if you want another sort of Fat Man type weapon, that's included in here as well. And these will also be added to the level list, so you will find these things out in the world, which is pretty crazy. You'll find them essentially everywhere that you would find a missile launcher, and that'll start happening after level 30. Overall, a very, very fun new heavy weapon. We don't get heavy weapons that often, so if you're looking for a brand new, fun, big explosive, I think this mod could be great for you and your load order. This, once again, along with all of the other weapons included in this video, and the other mods too, I don't know why I said weapons, all of them are linked down in the description, so you can go and grab these right now over on the Nexus, and some of these I'm pretty sure already have Xbox versions as well, so you can go and grab those over on Bethesda.net. With that, I hope you guys enjoy the video. It's been a really cool month for mods, and there's even more to talk about. I'm going to try to make time for some other stuff I missed, because there's just so much good content right now. It's crazy how alive this modding scene still is. With that, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, consider dropping a like. It really helps out the video. And if you'd like to support me in a more direct way, you can check me out over on Patreon, whether it's the videos here on YouTube or the mods I make myself. That is a great way to support me directly, but of course, it is optional. Not something you should feel like you need to do. It's there if you want to, but please don't feel like you have to. Once again, I hope you guys had a great time with this video, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace!